So my name is Jody Doherty Cove, and I'm head of editorial AI at Newsquest. Newsquest is a big publisher of UK regional newspapers. It's the second largest in the UK. I currently oversee 12 AI-assisted journalists. That's growing to 15 in the next couple of months. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how we've managed to get there over the course of the year. But first, what is Newsquest? So Newsquest is the second biggest publisher of media in the UK. We have more than 250 titles. That ranges from large titles like The National up in Scotland to very small town newspapers to some other sort of brand stuff as well. We publish in print and online, which is interesting when it comes to AI. So obviously there's two remarkably different audiences there. But our total monthly audience is about 7 million in print and 41 million online. And our titles, I always love this fact, our titles include Barrow's Worcester Journal, which is the oldest continuously published newspaper in the world. And that particular title is also being assisted with AI. So in terms of what we're doing, this is a project that began in around the latter part of 2022. It's an internal tool that just started off with me messing around in my bedroom coding little stuff, and now it's obviously been moved on to proper developers. But essentially it's an in-house tool that is drafting articles based on trusted information that's been provided to it. So essentially, you've got two things here. So on the left, you have the notes, and on the right, you have the story that's been drafted with the assistance of AI. And it's really just drawing on my experience as a reporter and how I thought that this may be able to fit into part of that workflow. So the reporter will place the trusted information in the left-hand side. So maybe it's forms of press releases, or maybe it's a bit of community news, or maybe it's a planning application. Then the reporter can rewrite that, give specific instructions about what the story should be pinned on, or how many words they want the story to be. And then a suggested version of the story has been written on the right-hand side. Now, they're obviously entrusted with reviewing that copy, and then any changes that they make are, when we send it to our CMS, our content management system, are then logged and saved as fine-tuning data. It's moved on slightly since here, where we actually have specific prompts in the back end for specific writing tasks, and that obviously allows us to get better outputs at this stage and know when we're using fine-tuning data that we're for the very specific writing tasks as well. We now publish, I think it's somewhere in the region of 3,500 AI-assisted articles a month now through my team. And this has been achieved by implementing a human-in-the-loop system. So essentially, the humans are deciding what to cover, and they're the ones who are verifying the information. So that could be a reporter who's finding that information, or it could be a content editor that's finding that information. The AI is essentially just a hyper-efficient copywriter. That's all they're doing, just pressing the buttons. Imagine typing at a typewriter. And they're drafting that draft story based on those specific instructions. And then obviously, it goes back to the reporter, or the AI-assisted reporter, to check the AI's work, ensuring accuracy, editorial judgment, and style. So the reporters are also looking for new exciting use cases, but that's a little bit more than what could fit into this particular presentation. But essentially, when we train up these new AI-assisted reporters, we have a lengthy onboarding program focusing on these areas. Firstly, accuracy. Secondly, editorial judgment. Copyright, obviously very, very key. Data protection. And then finally, bias as well. So they're all trained in those kind of 5 elements of being able to properly be able to desk the AI's copy. In terms of the impact, so we're publishing around 3,500 AI-assisted news articles across Newsquest each month. But really importantly to what we're doing here is essentially with newspapers, the newspaper is certain length each month. And it's down to those reporters in those individual newsrooms to make sure that it's been filled. Now, what we found is that lots of those reporters are effectively kind of chained to their desks, typing out all of this content to fill the newspaper that particular week. With what we've been able to do here with the AI-assisted reporters is they come in and do those kind of boring and mundane but important jobs that goes into creating a newspaper, and that's freeing up time from the journalists for the journalists who work there to then go out and spend more time with the community. And so it's been really important to us with the strategy that we developed that we're winning back that time and then showing the traditional reporters how best to invest that won-back time into some community journalism. It's interesting, other major players like Reach, which is our biggest competitor in the UK, has now started doing something similar to this, which is notes, drafts, and then publish upon human review. And Google, allegedly, if the reports are to be believed, are doing something similar with this, working with local publishers in a very kind of secretive way, so we don't know too much about it. But it seems like it's very similar to what we're doing here. Drafting out a news article based on trusted information. Obviously, that then goes for human review, and then those changes are logged. The Guardian's covered what we've been doing. Obviously, the Bearers Worcester Journal, very, very interesting. Have the world's oldest newspaper, now produced in part with AI. But essentially, everything that we're doing has been a kind of a long, year-long process of essentially winning back time for newsrooms, and that's the kind of motive that we've had in mind the whole time. Thank you.